Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. You have found my monthly video on the best board game expansions coming to retail. Retail is online marketplaces, retail is publishers' websites, retail is friendly local game stores. Basically any way you can go out and get these pretty easily and immediately. And this month is a doozy. A lot of times when I do this expansions video, there might be an expansion coming out for a game I've never heard of, but maybe other people have, and so I include it. Not this month. You have heard of all of these games that these are coming out for. There are some big games that are getting expansions this month. Hyped games, beloved games, all that sort of stuff. So I'm excited to get into it. Here we go. Best expansions hitting retail in October 2023. Cascadia from AEG and Flatout Games is getting its first expansion. This is Cascadia Landmarks, and Cascadia won the Spiel des Jahres. It's a very well-known and well-loved game that I love also, particularly individually. I love Cascadia. It is a game where you are drafting habitat tiles and animal tokens and then building out your own area of, nature sort of stuff. You're building out nature and you're putting animals on there, and then you're scoring for a bunch of different ways. All of the animals will score you points in different ways, and there are a number of cards in it that, keep the game replayable. So Cascadia Landmarks, one of the things that it does is it adds more of those wildlife scoring cards and habitat tiles. So if you've already played through all of the 5 bear cards that you have in base game Cascadia, now there are new ways to score for different animals. It also has enough components to play Cascadia with 5 and 6 people. The base game only plays 4, now you can play with 5 or 6. But the main thing that Cascadia Landmarks does is it adds these landmark cards and landmark tokens that you can add to your player area. So when you accomplish something, hey, you have 4 river tiles next to each other, you can, instead of putting an animal token down, you can instead put this habitat token down, this landmark token down, and that will score you points in a different way than the animal token would have scored you. So it's really up to you. You're like, man, I don't know if this animal is going to score me points. Maybe I'll do that landmark token instead. And there's a lot of different landmark tokens. There's a lot of different landmark cards. So it adds a lot of variability in the scoring and the replayability to the game. So that is Cascadia Landmarks. A Porta Games is releasing Revive Call of the Abyss. This is the first expansion to the game Revive, which came out the end of last year and made a lot of people's top 10 games of the year list. It was a very good game from last year. It was a heavier weight Euro-y game where you were rebuilding civilization, you were rebuilding the world thousands of years after humanity collapsed. And one of the notable things about Revive was there were these different tribes. What did they call them? They call them, tribes. There were different tribes, and all of them had asymmetric abilities. And there wasn't a lot of conflict in the game. You were kind of doing your own thing and not really messing with other people. So the main thing that Revive Call of the Abyss does is it adds 4 new tribes to the game. All of them have their own asymmetric abilities, just like the base game ones did, and they all come with their own content and stuff like that. So if you want new asymmetric tribes for Revive, here's your chance to get it. Also, it comes with the mysterious life form Skyphos, which I'm definitely not saying right, but I don't know how else to say it. You can, when you build near lakes, you gain devotion points, which lets you access the new and powerful Skyphos cards. So yeah, if you like Revive, or if you just like, heavier Euro games, then check out Revive Call of the Abyss. Ooh, speaking of heavy Euro games, Asmodee and Thundergriff Games are releasing an expansion to Darwin's Journey called the Fireland expansion. Now, I've heard from a lot of people online, they essentially go, this is an essential expansion. I wouldn't play the game without this. So if you've been curious about Darwin's Journey, a lot of people are like, this is a must-have. You got to have this in the game from the start of playing the game. Darwin's Journey is a heavyweight Euro worker placement game. You have a lot of worker placement spots. You are moving ships along a little track. You are moving around these islands. There's a lot going on and a lot to explore. Well, the Fireland expansion adds a new map and an alternative board layout with new mechanisms and additional content. One of the specific things I know that it does is now there is not just a single track to sail your ship. There's also another little port track that you can go on, and you can go to different islands with your explorers and stuff like that. So it's a heavyweight Euro game, but a lot of people feel like the Fireland expansion is a must-add to the game Darwin's Journey. Capstone Games is releasing Ark Nova Marine World. Ark Nova is a wildly popular game. It is currently number 4 on BGG of the top games. Of the thousands and thousands of games on there, Ark Nova is number 4. So safe to say a lot of people like it. It is also a heavier Euro game. In the base game Ark Nova, you are building up a zoo. That is the theme of the game. Marine Worlds, as you might imagine from the name of it, is adding marine life, adding marine animals to the game of Ark Nova. There are going to be a bunch of sea animals, and there are going to be enclosures for them, like aquariums. You get aquariums now that you can put sea animals in. There are, reef dwellers, things like that. There's other stuff. It's not just the marine animals. There's a 4th university that is available on the association board, and if you take it, you claim one of 6 special universities from the reserve that feature 1 research icon and 1 of 6 animal icons. There are new bonus tiles and final scoring cards in the game. The expansion will also include alternate wooden markers for the 3 tracks and cute animals to mark the conservation projects you support instead of using your regular player markers. So if you were a fan of Ark Nova, or you want to jump in for the first time, but you're like, I don't want to have a zoo unless there are sea creatures in it, then, Marine World is a good one for you. Asmodee and CMON are releasing a bunch of expansions to Marvel Zombies. Marvel Zombies came out earlier this year, and it is a Zombicide game. It is in the world of Zombicide, which is a cooperative game where you are working to survive a zombie apocalypse. And Marvel Zombies sort of flipped it on its head. Instead of playing as the humans trying to survive, you are now playing as the zombies trying to eat people. You are winning the game by eating people. And you might imagine from the name Marvel Zombies, it's a bunch of Marvel characters. You can be Zombie Hulk, you can be Zombie Spider-Man. All these superheroes have been zombified. You play through missions, but they are standalone missions. It's not a campaign game, but there are missions of different levels of difficulty that you can play in Marvel Zombies. Well, one of so I'll go through there are 5 expansions that are coming out, but the first of them is I didn't know where to include it. Sometimes there's I don't know, is this a standalone expansion? Is it its own game? That sort of stuff. I'm calling it a standalone expansion. It's Marvel Zombies X-Men Resistance. This is, while I mentioned Marvel Zombies, you're playing as the Marvel superheroes. In Marvel Zombies X-Men Resistance, you were actually not playing as the Marvel zombie superheroes. You were playing as the last real non-zombified superheroes trying to fight against the zombie superheroes. It is the X-Men. You are playing as the X-Men. The X-Men are the last surviving superheroes on the planet, and they are teaming up against the zombie threat. They are trying to fight against against the zombies and save everything. And it keeps the same stuff where there are missions, a bunch of different missions that you can play through. I should note it plays 1 to 6 players. All of these play 1 to 6 players, so it's nice to have that extra player count here. It's a strategic game that plays 6 players, so that's nice. And if you're like, man, I don't really want to be a zombie, then X-Men Resistance is the one for you. You can play X-Men Resistance and still play as non-zombie characters. Another one that they are releasing is Marvel Zombies Hydra Resurrection. Hydra Resurrection. So in this, it adds Red Skull and a bunch of zombie Hydra troopers to the game. Red Skull is one of the big villains that you can have to fight against. And it also adds other superheroes, like Black Widow is in this, or She-Hulk is in this. So it's not just Red Skull. There's also a lot of other characters that are available. It also comes with 6 tiles that can, and one side is the Shield Helicarrier and the other side is the Hydra base. So that's one of the nice things about Marvel Zombies. There's a bunch of different tiles and you can use different ones to set up different missions, and so it keeps it feeling different. The board isn't always the same. And so, yeah, this one adds Red Skull and zombie Hydra troopers and some other superheroes that you know and love. The next one we have is Marvel Zombies Clash of the Sinister 6. So this turns Marvel Zombies into team versus team missions. There are 2 groups of players fighting against each other. It's the only version of Marvel Zombies where you can play team versus team. You'll control a team of either superheroes or zombie heroes, each team with 3 to 6 characters, each side attempting to eliminate the other while completing mini objectives around the map to gain extra benefits. And there are a couple of new locations. There's the New York subway system. There's Central Park. So you do, noting this, because it is a team versus team, you do need both Marvel Zombies and X-Men Resistance core boxes to play this, but then this will allow you to play team versus team. And to accomplish the team versus team, there are teamwork cards in the game that are only utilized in this game mode, and these cards grant powerful benefits to you and your team as long as they are strategically used. So if you've always wanted to play team versus team Marvel Zombies, this is your chance. All right, we also have Marvel Zombies Guardians of the Galaxy. As you can imagine, this is adding the Guardians of the Galaxy to the game. You can play as all the characters you know from Guardians of the Galaxy, but it also adds Zombie Thanos. So you thought Thanos was hard to defeat before? Well, now you can't even kill him. Now he gets back up after you kill him. That sounds like a real headache, We had to travel through time to kill Thanos, and now it doesn't matter how much we travel through time, he keeps getting back up. So yeah, if you like Guardians of the Galaxy, there you go. And then the last one is Marvel Zombies Fantastic Four Under Siege. This adds the Fantastic Four characters to Marvel Zombies. And one of the cool things is this expansion takes the action from the ground floor all the way up to the roof of the Baxter building in a unique floor-by-floor board setup that allows players to run this deadly gauntlet in order to secure Reed Richards' fantastic technology. And, I'm hoping they get this one right, because they have gotten none of the Fantastic Four movies right. All of them are garbage. I don't know how they've messed it up consistently time and time again, but they did. They found a way, and so hopefully this is better than those Fantastic Four movies. So, I mentioned that a lot of the games this month are hyped that are getting expansions, and next up we have from Devere Games, Bitoku is getting its first big expansion. This is Bitoku Resutoran, and I hope I'm saying that, Resutoran. Bitoku was a big heavyweight Euro game that looked really gorgeous on the table, and there were a lot of things you could do, and you couldn't do everything, so it was about figuring out your path to victory because there are so many options and so many ways to score points. You just can't do it all, and so but I think did it come out? I don't think it came out last year. I think it came out the year before. So still a recent game, Bitoku. Well, this expansion, Bitoku Resutoran, is a 3-module expansion that you can add to the base game as you prefer. And you can add all 3 of the modules on. You can add one at a time. You can decide what you want to do there. The modules include new Iwakura rocks, new yokai cards, and 3 new types of Kodama Lake. Also, it includes a new deck of cards that will allow players to activate certain effects during the game, such as modifying dice results or gaining a lot of points. And points are good. Points are how you win games. And so that's always my strategy when I go into a game. My strategy is I'm going to score more points than you. That's how I win games. First Fish Games is releasing an expansion to their game Ducks in Tow. This is the Bugs and Slugs expansion. This is a lighter weight game, or sort of our first lighter weight game on the docket for this month. Ducks in Tow was a game where you were moving around this board of tiles and feeding ducks, and then ducks would line up behind you, and you would literally have ducks in tow behind you as you moved around. If you fed the right ducks, they would line up and follow you around the board, and it's very adorable. It is a very adorable game. Well, the Bugs and Slugs expansion does a couple of things. It adds bug tokens onto the board, and as you're moving around, you can collect these bug tokens and then feed them to your ducks. You have a little jar of bugs, and you can feed those bugs to your ducks. And it also gives each player a player board, and then the player board has slots on them, and once the token slots are filled with bugs, they grant you special abilities that can be used on your turn. So it adds a little bit more player powers, a little bit more strategy into the game Ducks in Tow. So Bugs and Slugs. Lucky Duck Games is releasing another expansion to their game Destinies. They've had a couple of expansions already, so here we got another one. This is Destinies Witchwood. Destinies is a really cool exploration adventure game that is driven by an app, and so you will be moving around this board, and parts of the board will reveal itself as you go, and there are things you can interact with, people you can talk to, and so you are moving around a board and trying to figure out what your mission is and then accomplish your mission before other players. It is not a cooperative game. It is a competitive game, but it's really good storytelling. If you like narrative games, Destinies is a really, really great narrative game. And you're playing through a few scenarios in the game. There are scenarios, and that's how the story sort of unfolds. Well, this Witchwood expansion adds new scenarios to the game. So if you have played through all of the stories in your other versions of Destinies, Witchwood is all new scenarios for players to explore. The world is filled with folklore-inspired characters, monsters, adventures. It definitely feels like a very adventurous game to me. So check that out, Destinies Witchwood. Ravensburger is releasing Disney Villainous Filled with Fright. This is a single character expansion to Disney Villainous for Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas. You're joking! You're joking! I can't believe my eyes! I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love Christmas. And so this is adding Oogie Boogie. If you haven't played Disney Villainous before, it is you're always playing as one of the villains from the world of Disney, and it's a very asymmetric game. That's one of the nice things about Disney Villainous. It's a really good introduction to asymmetry in games. All of the characters both play differently and have different win objectives. And so Oogie Boogie, he is trying to dethrone Jack Skellington and become the leader of Halloween Town. And so it is a standalone character expansion, so it must be combined with Disney Villainous standalone game to play it. So yeah, if you like The Nightmare Before Christmas, jump on in. All right, Renegade Game Studios is releasing My Little Pony Adventures in Equestria deck building game Collision Course expansion. And so this brings a mashup of My Little Pony and Transformers. And that's probably not a mashup you ever thought you were going to see, but we did it. They did it here, and it is here. My Little Pony Adventures in Equestria is a deck building game, sort of a classic feeling deck building game, but with the theme of My Little Pony. And you are doing all the normal deck building stuff where you are adding cards and making your deck stronger and using that to fight bad guys. Well, in this version, there are now Autobots and there are Decepticons. The Decepticons have teamed up with the nefarious pony villains, and the main six team up with the Autobots as 2-in-1 character cards. So you'll have both of the characters auto cards, and you gotta use the cards wisely to defeat your enemies. So that's a fun mashup there. Renegade Game Studios and Garfield Games are releasing Circadians Chaos Order Harbingers expansion. This is a mini expansion to the game Circadians Chaos Order, which was a heavyweight game where you could play as one of 6 asymmetric factions battling for control of ancient relics on a distant planet. So it was all about those asymmetric factions. Well, this mini expansion, the Harbingers expansion, adds 2 new leaders to choose from. After deploying your starting leader during setup, they must select 2 of their other leaders and return them to the box. So this provides more variability and strategies to discover from within each faction. So it doesn't add a new faction, but it adds a couple of new things for the faction that makes it, a little bit more replayable. So that is a mini expansion for Circadians Chaos Order. And then also, Renegade Game Studios and Garfield Games are releasing an expansion to Circadians First Light. This is the Specialist expansion. Circadians First Light was a heavy or medium heavyweight game that was all about negotiation. It had open negotiations, and you were building coalitions with new species in space. So if you like negotiation games, Circadians First Light might have been for you. Well, this Specialist expansion adds 2 new local factions for players to negotiate with. It adds a temple location to visit, and it adds outpost boards to extend their research bases. It also adds a lot of new characters with variable player powers and contract cards, and the new powerful Specialist dice. So yeah, lots more content to explore for Circadians First Light. Steamforge Games is releasing an expansion to their newly released Resident Evil board game. This is called Bleak Outpost. You might have seen my recent best games coming to retail, not expansions. I do just a video on the best games coming to retail, and Resident Evil, the board game, was in that video. It just released to retail, and it is a game based on the original Resident Evil video game. Steamforge Games has already made a board game version of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, but now they went back to the beginning. And so in this expansion, Bleak Outpost, there are 6 new scenarios in the game, so it adds about approximately 8 hours of extra gameplay to your Resident Evil campaign. Or each, one of the things I like about Resident Evil is it's a campaign where you can play through it as a whole and there's going to be a lot of storyline, or you can also play each scenario as an individual adventure, an individual standalone experience. So in this one, you can enter the guardhouse and the underground aqua ring in new tense scenarios featuring sinister new mechanics. You'll encounter flooded tiles, undead insects, the ferocious Neptune, and the constant threat of Planet 42's searching vines dragging you into the depths. So if you like horror-themed games, then Resident Evil is definitely a horror-themed game. So that's it. That's all the expansions I have hitting retail in October 2023. Thank you so much for supporting me and this series. I appreciate you liking and subscribe and sharing it. If you want to support me even more, you're always welcome to check out my Patreon, Grant's Game Rex, patreon.com/Grant's Game Rex. I hope you found something you're excited about. Like I said, there's a lot of expansions for well-known and well-loved games this month. So it's an exciting month in the world of expansions, that's for sure. All right, thanks so much, everybody. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.